All wings report in.
HouseDog, standing by.
Mother Goose, standing by.
Lowtech Tuck, standing by.
Lock S-foils in attack position. Animal Squadron ready for battle.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Animal Squadron podcast. You're here with your hairiest host, Mother Goose.
And Lowtech Tuck.
Hell yeah. Back at it again.
Back at it.
Today, we are talking about The Bad Batch, Season 3, Episode 2, Paths Unknown. I remembered to look at it this time.
And it's not like you didn't just watch it.
Yeah, totally. But before we get into it, we do have a little bit of news that literally just came out today, at least the day that we're recording. The Mandalorian video game that Respawn was working on that we literally talked about last week just got canceled.
Did it really?
Yes.
That's news to me too. Oh my gosh. That sucks, man.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
I was so excited for this one.
Yep. Yeah, it's just it's going out to the field with Battlefront 3 and
1313.
Yep. All the games it could have been.
The Force Unleashed, Force Unleashed was supposed to be an anthology series. So Force Unleashed 2 was supposed to be on a whole different character, I think at a whole different time in the Star Wars timeline. I'll never forgive them for that.
Yeah. They're like, no, let's just wrap it up.
Yeah.
There's no kids that are in middle school right now that'll hold it against us.
No, totally
way.
not. Anyway, I was scrolling through my news feed and I saw it and my jaw literally dropped. I was like, we just talked about this. It literally got announced last week.
Yeah, is that even time to start developing it? Is that even enough time to even really start? Oh, I mean, I guess when they announced it, they had already started. But,
yeah. My guess is they'd probably been working on it for a while, and I'm not sure if it was an official announcement or the game got leaked. My guess is it probably got leaked, and then the devs were like, oh, shoot. People found out about it right before we had to cancel. Oopsie.
Oh, yeah. Something that wasn't their fault.
Yeah. Probably an EA decision.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope they do something, I don't want to be Star Wars gameless this year, other than Outlaws.
Right? Same. Which, I mean, not to go... I'll try not to keep us on this long tangent, but, it baffles me how much the game industry is struggling right now. Microsoft laid off 1,600 employees. PlayStation just laid off 900.
Jeez.
Epic Games laid off a bunch, and multiple other companies laid off a bunch of employees. And there have been a bunch of game canceled, like The Mandalorian, and I'm just sitting here what is going on? The game industry makes more money than the film and music industries do combined. What is happening?
Yeah. Well, because it can't be because of the economy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I guess to our, depending on where and when you are, listeners, in America right now, 2024, our economy's not doing great.
Not the best.
For context.
Yeah. Hopefully you're listening to this in the future and everything's okay.
Yeah, in a world where groceries haven't doubled in the past 4 years and
people can afford rent, just little silly things like that.
Silly, just goofy little things.
Anyway, yeah, so we'll see. I still feel pretty confident in Outlaws. I think everything we've seen so far looks great. I mean, it could get canceled. Never say never, but I feel pretty confident that one should at least be coming out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they went through with a full demo like they did, 12 minutes of gameplay, I mean, I would think that it's it was already pretty close to done.
Yeah.
Whenever they did that, and then B, they feel pretty confident in it.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
That'll be cool.
Sorry, listeners, we hyped you up just to tear you down. My bad.
It happens, man. That's part of being a Star Wars fan.
Right?
It's a roller coaster sometimes.
For sure. Anyway, Bad Batch, Season 3, Episode 2, Paths Unknown. What did you think?
I liked it, and actually, I have a theory that I would like to talk about later in the episode.
Oh, okay. Well, you just spit that out whenever you feel the time is right.
Oh, yeah. No, I will slap that bad boy on the table as soon as I get the chance.
Hell yeah. I also really enjoyed this episode. I don't think it was as good as the previous episode. I think I was just a little more invested with Omega and Crosshair and what's going on Tantus. Like, I'm super invested in that. But I still really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I really liked this one, too. You know, that's actually a good point, what you said. I feel like this episode was less emotional.
Yeah.
And more just making progress on how do we find Omega? Where is she? Yada yada yada. You know, like
Right.
So it was good. I liked it.
Yeah. I did think it had a really strong start with the crime syndicate. I don't recognize this syndicate. Do you?
Yeah, so it's the I forget their name, but it's the Duran family, and they had a run-in with that guy already.
Oh, right, in the earlier seasons, right?
We watched the Pike cut off that dude's horn.
Right. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, and we knew ahead of time, like it was mentioned in that episode that his mother runs the crime syndicate, and he's, you know, kind of her little crony, her little right-hand man.
Okay, sick.
And then he's trying to the Sid's weird lizard pet. They steal it from the he steals it from Sid, and then they have to go get it back.
Right.
You remember that? Look, the cute weird little lizard thing?
Yeah, I'm so glad you remembered, because I completely spaced. Like, I felt like we'd seen this person before, but I was like, maybe I'm just thinking of someone who is the same, like, alien species.
Yeah. No, it's the same guy.
Okay.
And that's why also it's important here in a second whenever it's like, we found the guy that disgraced your family, yada, yada, yada.
Right. So I just looked it up. It's just the Durand crime family.
Oh. They keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Now, they did say syndicate in the episode, so I feel like they probably do have a fancy syndicate name that we just haven't gotten yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
I loved her little, like, execution laser floor.
Oh, yeah, the bad guy with the trapdoor trope that's in, like, every movie.
Yeah.
Wrong lever!
But that moment where she's talking to Hunter and Wrecker, and, like, the shot, it's like a shot of her hand moving towards the two buttons, and then it cuts to a top-down shot of Hunter and Wrecker, like, highlighting the floor underneath them. Just that moment of suspension of, oh, what button she's gonna hit. I really liked that.
Yeah, and I like the way that this scene is laid out, because at first you actually get to see them use the floor, and then they come in, and the dialogue too, what I like is it's just really clearly laid out. Like they demanded a chance to speak to her, and she's like, nah, who are these guys? Maybe I should just kill them anyway. And then her son vouches for him, which I thought was kind of interesting, given the way that they left each other.
Yeah.
Earlier in the show. But they must have really impressed him.
Yeah, for sure. And on what you were saying about the floor, like, demonstrating what it does beforehand, like, it was a really great example of show don't tell. You know, because Hunter, it could have just started with Hunter and Wrecker walking in and her being like, well, if I hit this button, you'll die.
Yeah, and that would have been, like, kind of annoying. I think.
Would have been awful. But they, I don't know, just little details like that I really appreciate.
Yeah, I agree with that. And one thing I thought was interesting, too, is they still had the horn. They got chopped off.
Yeah, me too. Especially now that I'm remembering that episode. That's really interesting.
Yeah. And I wonder if the Pike had it that cut it off, or if the Bad Batch had it.
I'm guessing the Pike probably kept it, right? Like as a badge of honor or a trophy.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I could also see Hunter picking it up. Like, I feel like he'd have the foresight to say, yeah, I probably could use this in the future.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a bunch of things he could have used it for. Like, for instance, like, what if the Durand family was chasing them one day?
Yeah.
He could use that to bargain, or a situation like this, or...
For sure, yeah.
Got a lot of options.
Got a lot of options, and he's a smart guy.
That's right.
But he used it here to get a location for where Hemlock is, and I like just little details of them talking. You can definitely tell that time has passed, but I also appreciate the fact that they're not really specifying exactly how long it's been.
Yeah, like I like how their armor that was quote unquote new last season, like we watched them paint it, is already faded and chipped and cracked again.
Yeah. And then
So-
little details like I don't think we mentioned this last episode, but like Omega's hair grew out a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else here before we move to the next scene?
No. Actually, I guess one more thing with the passage of time thing. In this episode later on, Hunter does actually say that Omega's been in there for a long time, and I won't let her wait. I won't let her be there another day.
Right.
So, I mean, it's been a long time for sure.
Which I think that's actually the next scene, because they're flying through space, and Wrecker says, "Hey, it's still going to be a couple days before Rex and Echo can come help."
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
And then they had to hit us with that line of dialogue, or lines of dialogue. They just had to remind us that Tech's dead, because Wrecker's like, last time we went in without help, we didn't all come out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not crying. You're crying. Shut up.
One thing that I liked about that too is that was really deep for Wrecker. I'm glad that he said that and not someone else.
Yeah.
Because if someone else said it, that'd just be kind of like, I don't know. That would just be kind of like a passing comment. But like for him, like he thought about that and has been thinking about that. Like that's a pretty deep thought for Wrecker.
Right.
Which I liked. I mean, I just thought it was cool with how his character's been in the past.
Yeah.
Versus where he's at now.
Yeah, for sure. And then somewhere in that there is the line that you mentioned that Hunter says, and this line was really interesting to me because clearly he's not thinking clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Typically he's a little smarter than this. He'd be the one to say, yeah, we should wait for backup. You can see just how distressed he is about losing Omega.
Yeah, no, it's to the point now where he's straight up panicking.
Yeah, and it works out this time, but honestly, if he keeps acting like this, like, someone else is gonna get hurt.
Yeah, and unfortunately with it being the final season, I think that's kind of foreshadowing that he is gonna get someone killed, maybe even himself.
No. Oh no, we have to talk about it. I'm sorry. The posters for this season or promotional art have Hunter's helmet being hung on something, like the clone helmets from the very end of Clone Wars after Ahsoka buries them.
Oh.
I know. Ooh. I wasn't thinking.
But also is that him hanging it up like he's retiring because he lived?
You know what? That's my hope, okay? He retires, and he's just Omega's dad from then on.
Yeah, I hope so. But, or they all die. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
I'm excited, though. I'm excited.
Me too. And I'm
Not excited for them to die, but excited to find out what happens.
like I said, I really hope it's a blaze of glory moment against like Darth Vader or some Inquisitors. I know we've talked about it, but like I feel like that would be a really fitting moment going out for them.
Oh yeah, I'd cry, but it would be so cool.
Right?
It would be so cool.
But I never really thought about it before. Like in my mind, since this show started, I'm like, don't get too attached. They're all gonna die in the end. But I think you're right. It's possible that probably not all of them, but maybe some of them may like retire. Maybe they'll go back to the island they found, and that's why we never see them later, is because they've been through enough. They're done.
Yeah, or like we talked about too with the Ahsoka show. I mean, just because someone's not in the whatever mainstream thing doesn't mean that they're dead.
Right.
The galaxy's huge.
Yeah.
Like they could have lived until episode 9. They could be alive during the Mandalorian for all we know.
Just straight chilling.
They could. It's possible.
Okay, so something I wanted to bring up is I was looking for the number of stormtroopers there were just because I was curious. And one of the first articles I found said that it was talking about if stormtroopers had families, and then it cut to saying that the first stormtroopers were likely clones, so no, they didn't have names or families. And my heart broke a little bit. I was like, oh, you had to do them to him like this?
But also, as far as we know, they all had names. I don't know of any of them that didn't. And then as far as families, we know that they were capable of it.
Yes. So no, I think the person whoever wrote the article probably just didn't have a good understanding of Star Wars lore, but the disrespect that they gave to the clones to our vets.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, to our galactic vets.
Anyway, do you have anything before we get to the planet?
No. The only thing was one quick little deal is it made me really sad that Omega's little toy hadn't moved.
Oh.
It was in the exact same spot.
Oh, no.
Doesn't that hurt you a little bit?
A lot of it, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, they didn't even put it away.
Yeah. Oh, and the fact, like, I don't know. I've thought about this, but I haven't really processed it till just now, I guess, is the fact that she used the straw to create as close of a version to that exact same toy as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then also, like looking at her room, they left her room the exact same. They never touched it this whole time she's been gone.
Oh, that really hurts.
Ouchie.
Okay, so we get to the planet, and it's foresty.
Yeah, it's foresty, and there's a big hole in the ground.
Big hole in the ground.
Where a base was.
Yep, and
it got Camino'd.
And not only that, but like we learn later that all of the clone cadets, or most of the clone cadets, were there, and I'm just sitting there thinking, like, why would they move the clone cadets away from Kamino here just to have them Kamino'd later?
Well, they wanted free experiments.
Oh yeah, you know what? Actually, that's a really good point.
Yeah, they were just bodies.
They served Hemlock's purpose, and then he got rid of them. That sucks.
Yep. Yeah. That's so far this has been a very, very happy episode, hasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. No, it just made me really think about the fact that, like, of course the Empire would genocide these children. It's literally an army, or a potential army, that could rise up against them here in a few years.
Oh, yeah, and also the Empire never hesitates to kill children.
Right.
That's never once been something that they struggle with at all. They're fine with it. They sleep fine. They aren't worried.
Right. And imagine, like, just hypothetically, the clones do start a civil war. The Empire definitely, it's going to be probably a drawn-out war. I don't think the Empire could take them all out in one go.
Yeah, in the EU, if I remember right, I think it's months.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, but it's a solid amount of time.
So, hypothetically, like, they spend months, years fighting these clones, and then, oh, look, there's a whole nother batch of them that have just aged into their fighting age. Definitely makes sense that the Empire killed them, but it still sucks.
Oh, yeah. Well, and even a clone kid is probably more dangerous than most normal adults.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the clone cadets in this episode just flies the ship just fine.
Yeah, right. He's not worried at all.
Yeah.
And then the other one, like, you know, Hunter just tosses him a pistol and he's just shooting and he's fine with it. Like, it's not even, you know, probably hasn't even seen a gun in years.
Yeah.
And he's just shooting, no problem.
Just straight chilling.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so we find some clone cadets, and we find out that pretty much what we've been talking about is that it got Camino'd, and that these 3 clones barely escaped alive. And what hurts the most is when they're talking about how the other clones didn't come back for them.
Yeah, how they just left him for dead.
Yeah, oh, and then just like, there's gotta be just a little bit of jealousy of like, oh, well, these defective clones are coming back for one of theirs. Why couldn't the normal ones come back for us?
Well, and there is, like, Mox even kind of says it. He says, you know, they're risking their lives for someone in their squad, and I respect that.
Yeah.
You know, I think that actually means a lot to him. In fact, it's what changes his mind on leaving them.
Right. I'm really curious what other experiments were happening here, because we see the vines, which I want to talk about here in just a second, but then, you know,
Yep.
Mox mentions just the terrible things that Hemlock was doing, and I'm curious, do you think Hemlock created this vine monster?
Maybe. It seems like Hemlock's specialty is more on, this is the wrong word, not like biological, but it seems like specifically like cloning and like more humanoid stuff. He doesn't seem like a plant guy, is what I'm saying.
That's fair, yeah.
But, you know, maybe he had someone on his team that was a
doing
plant
it.
person.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, so we first get to see our vine monsters as they're walking back to meet Mox, and
Yep, we have more Star Wars cryptids, everybody.
we got some more Star Wars cryptids. They literally say, "Don't touch the vines," and Wrecker literally just grabs one and pushes it out of the way. Which, you know, first time I saw it, I was like, Wrecker, you're so dumb. Why would you do this? And then when I watched it just, 20 minutes ago, I was really paying attention to the vine, and like, that is a big, beefy vine. Like, just looking at it, it looked more like a tree branch, like a big tree branch, than an actual vine. So I don't know if I would have been able to not make that same mistake, you know?
Yeah, or, I mean, what about the millions of times that he's pushed a branch out of the way and it was no problem?
Right, yeah.
Even if there was an animal stalking them or whatever, like, he could fight it.
Yeah.
You know, he has an excuse to not be that worried.
Yeah, for sure.
It's stupid. He should have listened to the kid, but oh well.
And I'm sure there's also part of him that's like, oh, well, these kids aren't fully trained. They don't know how to scale the danger properly. Like, what's dangerous for a untrained clone or unfinished training clone cadet is not dangerous for a fully trained clone.
Yeah, and at that, Wrecker is quote unquote superhuman too. Like, he's not a normal clone either.
He's just super strong.
And so I think like it would be kind of hard to not think of yourself in that way. Like, okay, like it might be dangerous for a reg, but I'm Superman. Like, why would I be afraid of that?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Is something that did kind of bother me though during this scene is they're fighting the branches, they're using their blasters, and the kid's like, don't use your blasters or it'll make it angry. And so they stop using their blasters, but I was just sitting there like, but they kind of already were doing that.
Oh, yeah, well, it's like Wrecker said. He's like, wait, it's not agitated? Like, as they're running?
Right? And they make it to Mox, and we kind of already talked
Well,
about...
actually... Oh, I'm
ahead.
sorry. I just thought of something. With the agitation thing, maybe also... what is it, Deke? What's his name?
Yeah, one of
kid.
them is Deke and Mox, and I don't remember the last one.
It's Stack.
Stack, okay.
Yeah, and Deke is the one with Hunter and Wrecker.
Yeah.
One thing that I thought about too, and just now whenever we were talking about the agitation thing, is maybe also Deke had seen it sprout out those little seed teeth monster things, like those little plantlets.
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna call them. And maybe that's what happens when it
Oh, and
gets
it's
agitated. Like,
Oh,
like maybe
yeah.
at that point it was still just trying to explore them. Even though it looked threatening, it was just still trying to feel them out. Like, what are you? Why are you in my area?
Right.
And then whenever they started shooting it, then it started sprouting the little plantlets. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm so curious about this whole environment and these creatures, because we see later, like, there's one really big one, and then we see some tiny ones, which I wanted to point out look just like the Flood, and I'm vibing with that.
Yeah, actually, are you ready for my theory?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
We've seen this monster before
Really?
in Star Wars.
Okay.
Yep. Want you to think back here. Travel back with me to the year 1977, Elijah.
Huh. Okay. My initial when you first
On the Death Star, too.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. My first initial thought was you were talking about Force Unleashed, the Shaak Ti fight, but you're talking about the trash compactor monster, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Because actually, in Force Unleashed, that's a Sarlacc.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But in the trash compactor monster, I think that is a small one
Interesting. Okay.
that was thrown away.
Oh, yeah.
Like it got into, let's say, a Empire transport or whatever, and they threw it away because they're
Okay.
like, oh, these things have been obsolete for 20 years. Like we don't need this thing anymore.
Okay. Yeah.
So just chuck it. It doesn't matter.
I could totally see
So-
that.
Yeah, and then also my other theory too is that it at least is part Sarlacc, or at least
Okay.
like a cousin of.
Yes.
I think.
That was my theory too, is that maybe at least the big one that we see later is either, like you said, related to the Sarlacc, or it is a Sarlacc that they'd been testing at this base.
Yeah, I could see it. Or they took a Sarlacc and then just started adapting it for a forest environment instead of a desert environment
Yeah, yeah.
with like weird science stuff.
And it's just a bunch of random bases throughout the galaxy where they're adapting Sarlaccs to different environments.
Dude, a frost Sarlacc and then also a lava Sarlacc would be
Right.
so terrifying.
I feel like the frost one would be the scariest because, like, you could pack some snow lightly on top of its mouth, and then it could attack and eat people as they're walking over it, almost like an antlion.
Oh yeah, and they just have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it.
But if these aren't Sarlaccs, I'm really curious if, like, what the relationship between the big one and the little ones are. The ones that I mentioned that looked like the Flood. Like, are they its children? Are they the same species, just different sizes? Or are they two totally different species, but, like, they evolved on the same planet, and so they have similar features. And maybe, like, I could see it being like a symbiotic relationship, like the birds that will clean, alligator teeth.
Yeah. Actually, those little flood guys, that's who I was talking about whenever I said plantlets.
Yeah, yeah.
So we actually watch one come out of a vine after Hunter cuts it.
Gotcha. I think I missed that part.
Yeah, so they definitely come from, like, it is all the same monster.
Okay.
But I do think, kind of like the Flood, I wonder if it's sort of a hive mind.
Yeah.
Not totally a hive mind, but kinda.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like, there's one, like, each individual one has its own will.
Yeah, yeah.
But if the big one dies, then they all die. I'm guessing. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, yeah. So I like that weird monster. Thought it was interesting.
Me too. Okay, so they take him to Mox. Was there anything else you wanted to say at Mox? Or while they're there with him?
No.
Great. So they go and get our boy Gonky. So glad to see him get some actual use.
Yep. Our main man.
And then really there's not...
Oh,
go ahead.
We got mixed up. We were just talking about the scene after that.
Yes, like...
So, like, they go get Gonky before they go into the temple.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Gonky, then they go to the temple. A lot of what we talked about happens. Very convenient, I wanted to say, that there was just one terminal that didn't get destroyed.
Yeah.
But I really loved how they did this scene because it felt ominous. They're walking through the dark. They fight a couple of the smaller vines here or there. They're downloading the data. Hunter, clearly hears something. We hear something. And I wasn't sure if it was pretty loud for us. And I wasn't sure if that's like what Hunter was hearing or what everyone was hearing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I got you.
They get attacked, they fight, but I really like it cuts back to Mox and Stax, and I love this conversation where they're talking about abandoning them, and Stax wants to abandon them, and he's bringing up how the ship is gonna get overtaken by the vines, and very clearly you can tell that Mox is thinking, okay, it's gonna get overtaken by the vines, we need to go, take care of that so we can all leave together. But he doesn't tell that to Stax, and I really liked how that was all shot and the script and handled. It was just really good.
Yeah, you can see. Well, it's just another one of show don't tell. I mean, you can just see it on his face.
Yeah,
even though he doesn't actually say anything.
Right. And that moment when they're on the ship and the distress call starts coming through, I really liked how that was handled as well.
Yeah, actually, real quick, whenever they are making the plan to go grab the ship, that's when the line about when Mox tells Stack, that they're willing to die to go find a member of their squad.
Right.
And I respect that.
Yeah.
I think that just kind of flips his whole world upside down. That, like, not all the clones are bad. Right.
Yeah, and I'm really curious what we'll see of them in the future. Like, are these kids just going to end up on the island living a good life? Or I could totally see them joining the rebellion at some point later on.
Yeah. I can also see them at some point coming back to the Bad Batch in this season.
Yeah, I could see that.
Or going with Rex and Echo, maybe.
Yeah. I kind of hope it's not Rex and Echo, just because I really think that the clone rebellion and network that they're building it's gonna get wiped out probably by the end of the season, and I don't want to see it. I know I have to, but I'm gonna cry.
So we know Rex makes it for sure, and Cody.
Yes.
Cody we don't know for sure.
Not Cody, it's Wolf.
But Rex for sure.
Wolf and Gregor, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, we know all 3 of them make it.
which is a really low number compared to how large of a clone network they've built currently.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they probably have at least hundreds at this point.
Yeah. So they're running, they make it to a pool, and the ship comes, it lowers the rope so they can get up, and of course this pool is directly located where the large mouth of this giant creature is.
Yep.
Very convenient.
And that's where we see that it is Sarlacc-like.
Very Sarlacc-like, yes. I think they handle this as good as they could. You know, they fight off the arms, the kids drop some explosives in its mouth, and it blows it up. The only thing I had when I was watching it, I was sitting there thinking, man, it's really good that its limbs went loose when it died and didn't tighten up.
Oh, can you imagine? Oh, man. They would have been screwed.
Right. Just thinking of like a spider as its legs kind of curl in and down, and definitely worked out for them.
Yeah.
But yes, did you have anything else on this action sequence?
No.
Great. So they escape.
Actually, real quick question. Do you think that had they had time to download all the information from the terminal, that they would have gotten the exact location of the lab? Or was that information even on the terminal?
Right. I'm so torn on this because, I mean, Hemlock had to get the information. He had to know how to get there at some point. That information had to have been transferred. But I don't know if they'd send it to just like I don't know if it would be available at just like a normal terminal.
Yeah, I don't think so. I kind of am of the opinion that this is either some sort of trap or it's the wrong info. I think that's possible.
Ooh, or maybe it could be that they didn't actually get any useful data, but Hunter didn't want to disappoint the kids.
Oh, maybe.
Almost dying for this data and not actually getting it probably wouldn't be the best for morale.
Yeah. Good luck, boys. We'll drop you off on this planet. Have fun. Bye.
Bye. No, I think that I'm going to trust what Hunter said, that they got a general kind of section of space. It's obviously not enough to know exactly where to go, but it's just a place to start looking.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's everything I had.
Yeah, me too.
Dope. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Animal Squadron. We really do appreciate it. If you want to be a part of this conversation, you can email us at animalsquadron@gmail.com. Again, that is animalsquadron@gmail.com. If you're listening on Spotify, the question of the week will be just what you thought of The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 3. And if you're listening somewhere where you can leave us a review, we really appreciate it. Good or bad, really helps us out either way. And for the Animal Squadron, this has been Mother Goose.
And Lowtech Tone.
Goodbye, everybody!
Adios.